Hello again, I'm Markie Music, and welcome back to part 2 of my Quake Champions Beginners Tutorial Series. In the first episode on mobility, I mentioned that the metagame of Quake boils down to resource control on whatever map you're playing. In many pro games like this, both players are usually equally competent on a technical level. They'll land most of the rails they throw out.
Get a couple more frags. How many of these rails? He hits 4 rails in a row.
They can juke their opponents as well as you can in this game, etc. The true tug of war in Quake that wins and loses games is map control, or more importantly, resource control. If you and your opponent are capable of inflicting equal damage on each other, then the one who wins is the one who can take advantage of the map's resources best. That can be stealing power-ups like Mega Health and Heavy Armor, or taking a more subtle approach with the small pickups. In this video, I want to take a more in-depth look at health and armor and what they mean to your overall game plan. And once again, I'll provide timestamps in the description. A smart Quake player will enter a scenario thinking, can I survive this encounter, as opposed to, can I kill my opponent? When playing either of the team modes, dying is a little more costly than just a point on the scoreboard. It can cause a sort of butterfly effect, in the sense that your team loses a contributing player until you manage to spawn and take the time to re-equip yourself. In that time, they can essentially be playing a 3v4 game and lose control of power weapons like the rocket launcher or even give up quad. This can further compound on itself, and the enemy team can end up scoring dozens of frags on the heels of you being gone during a critical moment. Taking all of these things into consideration, staying alive may be even more important than fragging enemy players. And to stay alive, you need to be as good at replenishing yourself as you are dealing damage. In the Quake franchise, the combination of your health and armor is called your stack. Obviously, if you reach 0 health, you're dead. Armor will soak 2/3 of any damage you take from your health pool. So if you were to get hit for 90, 60 of that would go to your armor, while 30 would impact your health. Every map in every game mode has both Mega Health and Heavy Armor, while containing differing amounts of smaller pickups. Blood Covenant, for example, has 10 health orbs and 3 light armors, while Tempest Shrine has 9 and 2 respectively. This sort of begs the question of what's more valuable, health or armor? Let's take a look at the stacks of Doomslayer and Ranger. As of the upload date of this video, both of their natural stacks total to 175, while Doomslayer's is slanted towards health and Ranger's towards armor. Since the maps have more health readily available than armor, Doom will have a much easier time replenishing himself to full than Ranger, making him generally tankier in the long term. Although killing enemy players causes them to drop 15 armor's worth of shards, that usually comes at the expense of taking damage in a fight, so that doesn't really help armor-focused champions as much. Time to kill is faster in Quake Champions than it has been previously in the franchise, but it's still much slower than any of the other popular shooters like Call of Duty or Counter-Strike. In those games, getting the jump on someone is pretty much a guaranteed kill, since it only takes a few bullets to do so. Quake is a little different. If you're diligent in maintaining your stack, you can often outplay your opponent and win in an ambush. Now let's talk about the power-ups. Both Mega Health and Heavy Armor grant 100 of their resource, which can overcharge your natural limit by 50 each, making them incredibly valuable. They spawn at the start of every game and have a 30-second respawn timer once picked up. In all the game modes other than Duel, they even have timers for when they respawn in the form of a segmented circle. Each segment represents 5 seconds, and flashes for each second counted. So if you see 3 segments up, that means check back in 15 seconds. The clock is super important in this game, and we'll talk more about it later. Speaking of time, every map has these hourglasses. They reduce the cooldown of your ability by 10% of their total amount, as opposed to current time remaining. So since Ranger's Dire Orb has a 20-second cooldown, an hourglass will always reduce whatever you have left by 2 seconds. The champion abilities in this game are generally incredibly overpowered compared to what you are limited to as a vanilla character in Quake Live. Having your ability ready to use as often as possible can mean the difference between securing quad damage or dying and losing all of your weapons. It's good to learn a few routes you can take to rebuild your stack. I've gone ahead and captured a few to start things off. If you haven't already, put some time into figuring out the health and armor placements on all of the maps. You don't necessarily need to memorize where every single health orb is, but it's great to figure out a few hotspots where there are a lot of resources clumped together. Like this room on Ruins of Sarnoth, which contains 75 health, 25 armor, and 60% CDR, or Cooldown Reduction. I hope some of the information I've presented has been helpful. A mentality shift in dealing with your resources could be one of the things holding you back from performing at your best. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to see something covered further in this series, and subscribe for more Quake Champions. I'm Markie Music, thanks for watching.